This car, this Acura, has been a really great car for me. It still is, really, but 16 years old and it's got this problem here. This car has this problem, and really no amount of body work is going to be done on this car because it's sort of in its convalescence period. But I have to stop this bumper from ripping off. Yeah, yeah, this is not my proudest moment, but it'll work. This block of soap, um, it's only been curing a day, so it's not cured, but it's a lot of soap. That's maybe, it's a lot of soap. And it kind of, there's definitely, there's definitely a trace of chicken soup in there, but it doesn't seem to smell much. So that slices up like a hot knife through cold butter. Uh, okay, I was a little worried I'd added too much lye to my soap recipe. So I bought this pH meter that I didn't bother to calibrate, but it seems to be giving sensible readings. And I got some very soapy water, and it's reading 9.42 right now, which is pretty good for soap. So this soap is good to go. We live in an area that has Lyme disease in ticks, in black-legged ticks, and one interesting way I've heard to control them is to use tick tubes, which are basically cotton balls soaked in a permethrin solution, which is an insecticide, and you kind of rig it up so that mice find these cotton balls and take them home to make their nest out of. It doesn't hurt the mouse, but it hurts the ticks on the mouse. And those are the ticks that get infected. They get infected from the mouse. So really, it's the the tick doesn't want Lyme disease either. It's something they get from a mouse. So here we're going to trick the mice into applying insecticide to themselves and kill the ticks that are feeding on mice and break the Lyme disease cycle. So I've got this 10% permethrin solution. I'm going to try to evenly distribute it to 10 grams of cotton balls, and then I'm going to let them dry, and then I'm going to load them into tubes, and then I'm going to put them all over the place. Okay, here we go. There's a half an ounce fluid of the 10% permethrin applied to the 10 grams of cotton balls. Now it doesn't look like I'm going to have any chance to disperse that, so I think what I have to do is to add enough water to evenly distribute the permethrin and then let everything dry. I think that's the best strategy. So I added about 100 milliliters of clean water, and that seemed to distribute everything okay. So I made up 3 more batches of that. This is 30 grams altogether, 30 grams of cotton balls and an ounce and a half of permethrin. So we can assume now that the permethrin is basically evenly distributed, and these are ready to dry. So I put them in this pretty heavy box and lined that with some paper, lined it with a plastic bag, and I've got them there ready to dry. And I'm going to put them in this container where they'll be nice and warm and away from anything, away from kids, away from pets, until they are completely dry. We have 5 of us. My kids and me and my wife, and we go through toilet paper, so I had no trouble finding toilet paper tubes. And I just want to give these ones a bit of a hedge against the weather, against the rain, and I'm going to sort of semi-waterproof them with this old can of spray paint, leftover 10-year-old can of spray paint. That can sure had schlemazel in its nozzle, but I managed to get these painted to some extent. I don't know if that'll waterproof them or what. Got these semi-weather resistant toilet paper tubes. This would be good to waterproof with beeswax. I think I maybe will try that when I get some beeswax. So these are nice and dry. I'm kind of worried they're not big enough to stuff inside these tubes, but I'm going to give them a try. I'm going to put the same number in all of them so that I can sort of do some surveillance and see if they're being removed, be able to count how many are missing. For people who are interested in this permethrin, if you've ever had lice shampoo is basically permethrin. If you put that Revolution tick stuff on your dog, the tick part of it is basically permethrin. It's very got good safety profile in mammals, and it kills insects. Okay, there's not much more to do but shove these in the tubes. So we're almost at end of job with these tick tubes. I just put 3 balls and 3 cotton balls in each of these and close them over with a bit of a fold just to keep them from falling out while I take them to where they're going to go. I had a few left over, so I just try a couple untreated toilet paper tubes to see what they do. Yeah, and now when the rain stops, I'm going to go distribute these near the areas of my property that I suspect are most delicious to ticks. And really, I'm not going to have any clue if this is working or not, is the reality. But we got to try something. This is how I take out the trash, because it's a long way to the curb. So here's a pail of ash and burned chicken bones. So the ash is heavy in the potassium, and the bones are pretty heavy in phosphorus. So this is a really good soil amendment, and because the bones have been burned and calcined, the dogs and other animals aren't interested in eating them, so it effectively disposes of the bones as well. Yeah, and there it is applied to the soil. What's going on today is it's nice enough to start my cabbages. I eat a lot of cabbage, I eat a lot of sauerkraut. And I'm going to use this little portable tunnel that I built from primarily a piece of rebar, shaded 6x6 rebar, and some bits and some vapor barrier. This one's actually, I think this will be its 3rd season, and you can see the vapor barrier plastic is not brittle. It's working out pretty well. It's a real simple design. Anyway, I got to get some ground turned and get some compost into a little seed bed and get these cabbage in the ground before it's beer 30. So here I go. So I got those cabbage seeds sown here in a couple little drills, and they're going to be covered by this portable tunnel. This tunnel is really great for starting seeds, and I think I'm going to do another one of them. Really, I didn't have much to argue with this design here, so it might be basically a copy. And yeah, I'm just going to get these in and sprinkle some water on them and call it a day. Where I live, the frost-free date is May 24th. The day that, you know, theoretically you don't have frosts after. And that's about 4 weeks off. So here I'm starting starting some cabbages which really enjoy the cold, apparently. And we're a little early for them, but this tunnel will sort of add some protection and bring that season forward a little bit. It's a beautiful, warm, still evening. Completely still, and believe it or not, I'm being attacked by mosquitoes. Tamping the soil down really well because I have a lot of trouble getting my carrot seeds to germinate. They have to stay wet for I think 10 days. And I want the ground to be really packed down on top of them so the ground doesn't wick away moisture. I sowed carrots 4 times last spring and had no germination. Some of them germinated in the fall. I spent $200 on this seeder. It sows all kinds of seeds, and it's actually looks like it's pretty well built. Looks like it's pretty well engineered and made out of real solid pieces. Kind of dying to give it a try. I bought one of these seeders that automatically sort of digs a trench and spaces the seeds and drops the seed in the trench and closes the trench and packs it down. So really, if this thing works, it'll be an enormous benefit to me, because sowing seeds carefully is backbreaking. So anyway, this is my first try on. I got a bunch of old leftover peas, and it's the kind of weather where I'm hopeful that they're going to sprout. So I'm going to bung those in, and I hope this thing doesn't drive me crazy. It's kind of got to look like it'll drive me crazy. Well, I'm really pleased with this. It really was no trouble at all. It seemed to work great. You can sort of keep your eye down here. This is the little chute right in the center, and you can watch the stuff fall through there, and it was really quite reliably being fed into a little trough. And this soil is really has just been cultivated, so it's really fluffy. So it has pushed down, closed and pushed down the furrow, and I think it's done a really great job. I'm stoked about that. That thing is going to come in super handy. I almost stepped on this snapping turtle. He was so still. It's a real dinosaur. Look at this dinosaur tail. A fossil. Not sure how well this is going to come out, but we've had good germination on these cabbage seeds that were under my my little tunnel. Right on. There's my future sauerkraut. This is my Jersey Giant asparagus. I think this crown is 3 years old. I have picked a few off of it before this, but anyway, we're gonna eat these. If you've never had really fresh asparagus, they're amazing. You just eat them raw and they're gorgeous. This is the reason to be a gardener. We are in the start of a very late spring. It's May the 3rd, I think, and things have just finally started to come back to life with some nice weather. These are white currants. You can see they're just starting to get going. If you've never grown haskap, or if you don't know haskap, they're incredibly early. This one here is ready. Those are flowers almost ready to open. They're really great. Haskap are basically ripe before strawberries are ripe. They're very early and they're very flavorful, tart, and they're great fruit.